I'm going to call this meeting to order. Time now is 5:32. My name is Peter Hoffman, Chair of the Economic Development Committee. This is a remotely conducted open meeting. As a preliminary matter, this meeting may be audio or video recorded. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Paul Anderson.
I'm here.
Jason Rowell.
Here.
Jeff Green.
I'm here.
And I'm Peter Hoffman. With the quorum of the committee present, I call this meeting to order at 5:32 on December 8th, 2021. Okay, so since Liz was nice enough to join us, let's have Liz on first. Liz is the new Solomon Pond Mall Manager, or you can retitle yourself if I'm wrecking your title. We have no specific agenda. We just wanted to meet you and put a name to a face and see what's happening at Solomon Pond Mall. The floor is yours.
Great, thank you. So I work for a company called Pacific Retail Capital Partners based out of California. We took management of the property in September from Simon. Our intention is at this point to really address the operational issues here first, which we've been steadily working on and improving: landscaping, painting, fixing entrances, all, tile work, lighting, all the kind of things that you would expect would have been in better condition than they were when we took over. So, initially that's the marching orders I was given: get the place in shape, make it shine. And we've hired a leasing company, some in-house staff, as well as external brokers to help us bring in some new tenants and hopefully revitalize the center. I have just a brief background for me. I've been in shopping center management, primarily malls, but some open air and lifestyle kind of centers as well for 30 years. So this is nothing new.
Where did you come from when you transferred? Where'd you come from?
So I came from, locally, I was at the Whitney Field Mall for a number of years up in Leominster. And then I was at the Tuscan Village in Salem, New Hampshire. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that property. So I was there for a period of time through the grand opening, but the commute was just a little much for me. So when this opened up, it's closer to home. So I jumped on this opportunity to come here.
So you're
back
local.
into the mall world.
You're local, Liz, then, right?
I live right near Mount Wachusett.
Okay.
Princeton.
Actually, Westminster, other side.
Got it. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, so that's essentially it. I'm happy to be here. I'm just, like I said, I started towards the end of September, just kind of now coming up for air and getting out and trying to meet the folks in the community, and both Berlin and Marlboro, and make sure that I know all the right people. And, we would like to obviously hear from both of the towns as to what your vision is for the mall and the surrounding area. We're certainly not 100% tied to continuing to operate it as a 100% shopping center. I think there will always be a shopping component, whether it's 80% of the property, 60% of the property, that's yet to be determined. I mean, we're really still just in the stages of assessing what the community needs and what the community wants and what the community will support here. But we're certainly open to suggestions and to any, businesses or other developments that you want to send our way. We will entertain conversations about, switching parts or pieces of the center to some kind of a mixed use opportunity for us, which makes a lot of sense these days. It's the the way that a lot of properties that are maybe overbuilt retail are going. So.
What was the name of the capital partners, the first word?
Pacific.
Got it.
Pacific Capital Partners is the name?
Pacific Retail Capital Partners. So they are
Okay.
primarily in the shopping center business, but they also are in the redevelopment of real estate business. I know there's one mall in New York that they're in the process of kind of turning into a hybrid, which I think is, like I said, the wave of the future. So it's certainly something that they're familiar with doing and would entertain here if that's what the, community wanted.
And they actually own the mall now, correct? You're not just managing the mall, because I heard it had gone into receivership for a while.
No, it is in receivership, so we are third-party managing for the receiver.
Okay.
But Pacific tends to do that when it's a property they want to purchase.
Okay,
If they weren't interested in purchasing it, they may have taken on like the receivership role, but because they were interested in the long-term development here, they chose to go the third-party management route.
all right.
So what vision does you and your leadership have for the hybrid model? What, I mean, I'm sure you're trying to put tenants in there, whether they be shopping or otherwise.
Right. I mean,
Okay.
currently we are primarily trying to secure retail tenants. I don't know that we've been on board long enough to really have assessed what other uses the community needs, but that's, kind of number one on our agenda once we get through the holiday season and we stabilize the property, bring it up, to a better standard operationally. Then the next step would be, now where do we go from here? What's the long-term plan?
So first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, now fourth quarter, what's the trend been on vacancies?
We're actually not in a bad position right now. We're holding our own. I don't think Simon did us any favors when they left. I think they negotiated tenants out of here and into their other centers.
Wow.
Which is what they tend to do, not to,
So the
badmouth
writing was on
anybody.
the wall. The writing was on the wall that you were going to take over?
So they leverage people and they say, listen, I know that you're struggling at these 3 centers. If you keep these 2 open, we'll give you a break on the rent and we'll let you close the one over here, which we know we're going to lose to receivership. So they leveraged out a few tenants here that were probably salvageable with the right deal. So that's what we're working on now is making deals that make sense for folks and making sure their occupancy costs make sense and, keep them operating and keep the occupancy levels at least at or above where they are now.
Does it appear your anchors are safe?
It feels like it. I have not heard any rumblings of Macy's or Penny's closing these locations. So, and
I was
know
thinking about Apple or the movie theater, of course.
Apple's got several years left on their lease. The movie theater, we're working with them right now to ensure that they stay in place for several more years.
So go ahead, Paul.
In September, when we had Ed Bastian on, I think it was Ed, is that his name?
Chris.
Chris, sorry. He was the former manager, as you know. He mentioned that there would be I think some sort of Mexican restaurant coming into the food chain and maybe the food court and maybe another cafe taking over where Starbucks was. Has either of that happened? I haven't been to either one of those places, so.
Yeah, so the Mexican restaurant is under construction. They've run into a few issues with labor as far as getting their construction work completed. I think it was more than they anticipated they would need to do.
Okay.
So I'm in contact with her every day, trying to get her open before the holidays are over, because
Right.
she's missing a great opportunity by not being open right now. And the cafe is rethinking their use. They still have a lease and they have every intention of opening in there. I think that they are just going back and reconsidering what their intention was as far as a cafe, but we're expecting that they'll open something because they are under obligation to do so under their lease and they are paying the rent. So.
Okay, that's good news.
Yep.
So are you having any issues with the town of Berlin? Building commissioner wise, permit wise, is there anything in that regard that we might be able to help you with? Or your tenants?
Not thus far, but again, I've only been here a couple of months. And I haven't had a chance to reach out to all of the folks yet. I do have a counterpart here, Linda Berger, who is our specialty leasing person. So she does the short-term leases, and she, I think, has reached out to folks in both towns to kind of get a feel for what the process is. But we should.
So feel free to circulate my name and number.
Okay.
If somebody gets stuck. I'm not,
Appreciate that.
no, I don't wave a wand, but I certainly will try.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Or if you want somebody more skilled, go to Jeff, Paul, or Jason. Well, it sounds like you're not closing.
We are not closing. Please
What
squelch
about-
all the rumors.
What about Sears, Liz? Do you guys hear anything about what's happening or any thoughts about that property? And because who owned that Sears actually owns that property, right?
They do, they do.
Yeah.
So we don't even have access to the buildings.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's a unfortunate situation. I've reached out to them a couple of times and really have gotten very minimal response from them as far as, you know, just kind of introducing myself and saying, you know, if you need anything, like, do you want to meet? And they're just very kind of hands off at this point. They have the COVID testing center in the Sears Auto building still. And
Okay.
other than that, the other building's just sitting here, and I have not even witnessed inspections of the building, which I know, you know, for the most part, most of the Sears or owners have been at least going in every month to make sure that pipes aren't freezing and places still standing, but I have yet to see that
Okay.
here.
Since you have an interest in pipes not freezing, I'm surprised that you don't have access.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We don't have any control over the space whatsoever.
And you've been unable to reach them, if I remember from our phone call.
Yeah, I did get in touch with one person, but she was not really she's somebody who just goes out and finds services for them. So when they were looking for snow removal, that kind of thing, she reached out, but she's the only person I've talked to, and she's not even a direct employee. She's like a third-party service provider.
So will that affect the parking lot as well?
In what way?
So if they're not servicing the building at all, is that area of the parking lot possibly not going to be serviced as well when you have snow and such?
I mean, we are plowing it. If there's nobody out there plowing it, we'll do it.
That's good. Well, it sounds like you're trying. And you've got leadership that's behind you.
Yep. Absolutely.
Anything else you might share? Any impending tenants with or without a name?
We don't. I know there's some food operators we're working on. We had a couple of food court tenants that dropped right before we came on board. So we're looking to replace them, you know, get a new pizza operator in here, because a food court without pizza is, you know, just not a food court.
Right.
So we've got a food court operator. We've got another Asian player that we're working with. We're working on bubble tea or yogurt kind of franchise folks. As far as inline stores, I'm trying to think who he's got in the works. I mean, really, right now it's about keeping the folks here open. So what we've been working on primarily is renewals and COVID extension agreements, things, you know, because everybody's still struggling. The sales and traffic is not nearly back to 2019 levels even. So,
Right.
and we do have a system of tracking that. So until we can
For
get,
traffic, you have a way to track
yeah,
traffic?
we can go historical too with the system that we have. So we can track 2019, 20, 21, and we're certainly well above last year's traffic figures and sales figures, but nowhere, you know, it's probably still only 70% to 2019. So until those numbers come back to normal, you know, right now we're still just working with the tenants that we have to make sure that they can survive, keep the lights on.
When do you think Pacific Retail might pull the trigger to move to purchase? Is that weeks, months, years? Because that would be quite a commitment.
Yeah, I honestly don't have any idea on how long the receivership will hold the property. I've seen them hold it for 2 years. I've seen them hold it for 6 months, because I've worked for receivers before. My understanding in general these days is that the hold period is getting shorter. Used to be they would hold it for 2 years, try to turn things around, try to recoup some of their money. Now I think they just much more quickly want to turn it. So hopefully it will be sometime in 2022, but I have no idea.
We're good. Guys, any other questions or comments? Jason, don't speak so much.
I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay. Well, we'll let you go. We're
Okay.
happy to help. We're just a conduit. We're not decision makers. We're the Economic Development Committee, but we're happy to introduce you to any town leadership necessary. You or your tenants, of course, or your leadership for that matter.
And I guess, Peter, one thing we can tell Liz is, does she, or ask her, do you know the folks who are running Riverbridge or Highland Commons? Have you been in touch with them at all about how they're doing and any shared interests or such?
I haven't been yet. Like I said, I've only been here since September, and we
Yep.
kind of had our marching orders when we arrived. And just so everybody's aware, when Simon left, they took the entire staff. So we
Wow.
came in blind. We didn't know the building, we didn't know the property, we didn't know the tenants, we didn't know anybody. So I spent my first, month and a half hiring help and then
Wow.
running around doing as much as I could. So we finally have a skeleton of a staff, and we're adding to it. But
How awful.
it was rough going for a while.
So Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, Chris told us that one day he was told it's time to leave.
That is what I think. My recollection is the same, that he was told that he's going to Auburn, and that's all he's managing now. At least I don't know. At that time he was managing both, and now he's only managing Auburn. Does Simon have malls besides Auburn in the local area?
It depends on what you define the local area by. They have, in Massachusetts, they have quite a few, and
Right,
in New Hampshire, but.
right. But I mean, like Worcester, do they,
mm-mm.
the shops, what are the shops on the hill? That's not Simon, is it? Up in.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Okay.
don't have a whole lot, but they spread their managers and operations people pretty wide. So they, they could be sharing at Chestnut Hill, they could be,
Right. That's true.
Well, it sounds like you've got your work cut out for you in so many ways.
it's, we've come over the hump, I feel like. So now it's just getting our hands in it and really trying to push it forward.
Would you like to be introduced to Riverbridge, at least down the street from you?
Yeah,
Or-
absolutely.
All right, I will introduce. Let me make a note. So there's two brothers that run the show, Matt and Chris Senni. They're the developers. And maybe we'll chat more offline.
Okay,
If necessary, Senni's to Liz. I'll send a joint email.
perfect.
What do you think about introducing Liz to Jed? Is that realistic, Paul?
Well, we can, if Liz doesn't mind, happy to send an email to Jed saying he may know there's been a change of ownership at Solomon Pond Mall. Here's Liz is the new manager. Jed's the guy who we know who is he's not the manager of Highland Commons, but he's one of the owners or whatever.
He's the principal developer, I think.
He's a principal developer, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they've got, what, 1 million feet? And they
About a
seem to be
million,
doing
that's
well.
correct. Yep. About
They
a
seem
million.
to be doing well, which is just unbelievable, given so many factors, not the least of which is the downturn in the economy, the upturn, and COVID.
Right.
I don't know if you've been up there. Have you been up there at all, Liz?
I have. Yep.
You can see it's pretty vibrant. and
Yeah, it is. Yep.
We're doing pretty
Beautiful
well.
property.
But what I'll do is, Paul, should I introduce? I think an email introduction would make sense,
Yep.
either with you or with you and Jed, or how do you think we should do this?
Oh, I don't know. I'm happy to, if you want me to do it, because I've been talking to Jed, I can give me Liz's email and I'll introduce the two and, you know, Liz, then you'll know who it is and you can chat with him if you want. He can reach out to you if he wants. I
Yeah.
mean, just a mutual introduction.
So what I'll do,
Perfect.
Liz, just to clarify, I'll introduce you by email to Paul. Paul is our liaison to Jed. He knows Jed best, Jed Hayes best, who's in Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. That's correct.
And we'll see if, Jed's pretty busy, so we'll see if he bites, but the connection should be through Paul.
Okay, great. Sounds wonderful.
All right, we don't want to keep you unnecessarily. Thank you. Nice of you to
Thank
take
you
the
so
time.
much for
Yeah,
inviting me. It was nice meeting you all.
Bye. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Nice
Same to
Happy
you.
holidays.
Let it be busy.
Yes.
Right.
Keep well.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
All righty. Let me just make a note here.
Peter, I actually have rough notes that I can send you if you want them.
I'd be tickled. All right, just 1 second though. I think that was productive. What do you guys think? Or informative, maybe is more accurate.
Yeah, it was informative, right? Yep.
All right, so in the interest of getting Paul wrapped up before Paul needs to go, we don't have too much to talk about. Is there anything Highland Commons wise, Jed wise?
Nope, but I also have, you know, we tried to get a hold of him last time, right, Peter, over and over again, and he has
I-
not responded. I may give him a little bit of a hard time this time, but the listing will be a good thing to, another way to ping him and sort of, I won't give him. a
I
hard
did
time.
not, you know what, I stumbled. I did not try to reach out to him. So I might do that.
No, I've reached out to him several times, and so I'll keep doing that. And I'll send the Liz information, then I'll ping him a week later and say, hey, are you still alive or something like that.
All right. Well, why don't you send a joint email between you, Liz, and Jed? And then
Yep,
he'll
that's what I'll
be-
do. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And copy me if you feel like it's appropriate.
Okay.
All right, so that settles that. So the signs. Did either of you, Jeff or Paul, either drive by or view the draft?
Go look
No.
at the draft. It looks good. That's pretty much where I was expecting it was going to be. So
Oh, we have a draft sign up somewhere? Is that what you're saying?
No, we have a draft email from me to the group.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't looked at it. Sorry. No.
It's okay. We'll deduct it from your pay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Let me just bring it up for 2 reasons, both to show it to you and to talk about it. So Jason and I met at the site this morning to pick a spot, chat about it, and mark it. So 1 moment, please. Is that visible?
Not yet.
there
Yeah,
it is.
okay. I see it. Yep.
All right, there's not too much to see there. But the 2 things, I'm just going to chat for a minute, I'd like Jason to wrap up. The 2 yellow parts are the questions. If indeed you guys agree that the site we put it at, which is midway between the bridge and the driveway of the community garden, makes sense. At least Jason and I think it does. Any input, Jeff or Paul?
That makes sense to me.
Jeff?
Yeah, that's pretty much where I was expecting you would put it. So
Okay. And 8 feet happens to be from the very edge of the roadway where the sidewalk starts to the nearest point is 8 feet. So one of the 2 posts would start there. Unless you guys disagree. That's the placement, the proposed placement. Everyone good with that?
I'm fine.
So then the executive question is, what does the back of the sign say? I threw out there, thanks for visiting Berlin, but it can say, and of course, sponsored by whoever the sponsor is, in this case, Cabela's. because I'm gonna, once we bless this, I'm gonna email Cabela's this proposal. Any input about what the backside might see, might say?
I've never thought about the signs saying something. Usually the signs are structured so that you can't see the back. I'm trying to think of welcome to signs like that for towns that I'm familiar with, and you can't see the back of the sign typically.
But it'll be perpendicular to the roadway, so you'll be
No,
able
no,
to.
I understand in this case that you would be able to see it. So that's an interesting question. I'd not thought about that.
I've seen come back soon or something like that on the back.
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Well, we want to drive home the town name, I think. Any thoughts? Jason, what do you think? Because I was the one that drafted these 4 words.
I mean, I kind of like come back soon. You know,
We're
but I
leaving.
get you want the name, you know, for folks who maybe didn't come down River Road,
That's a good point.
from the other direction. You could, I mean, there's enough room on the sign. It could just say, now leaving Berlin, come back soon, or something like that.
Or thanks for visiting.
Yeah,
Well, let's
now
hope.
leaving Berlin, thanks for visiting, or thanks for visiting Berlin, and just keep it simple. And then I'll work, because we want to keep it simple, I'll work on driving the cost of putting a back to it down.
Let's talk about that. So we're in the upper teens right now, the cost, including installation. Is that right, Jason?
So we have two different companies. Connor Signs, they're the ones who have done signs in the past for the town. They're the originators of the sign design. They're at $1,885, and that's a one-sided sign.
Including installation?
That is not including installation. It would be an additional $285 for installation. When I emailed them today and said what it costs to put a back on the sign, if they just put vinyl or paint or words on the back of the board of the front, they're telling me right now it's $635. If we want them to add an additional board, the same cutout shape as the front, it's $785. So they're charging an extra, $150 for the wood per se. I did reach out to Imaging. That was the other company we were working with. Their original quote was $1,600.
Is that ICL imaging?
Yes.
Okay.
Their original quote was $1,600, and that included delivery. And I reached out to them and said, what would it cost to add a back to the sign? I did not hear back from them yet. Solar lights, good solar lights are about $80, so the solar lights aren't that expensive. I'm sorry, Peter, what were you asking?
The ICL imaging, can you just repeat that? Including delivery, but not including installation?
Yes.
What was the cost?
That was $1,600. And that's, when I had the DPW tell us that they would do the install. So once we get to that point, once I order the sign, I'll reach back out to DPW and see if it's.
Well, we need to determine this in advance. I can't quote 2,000 if it's going to be more. I increased it already from 1,500 to 2,000, and we have a budget of $500, $600, $700 a piece. So we have to figure this out in advance. Otherwise, we'll fall flat in our face. So if you could get a quote for one side, two side, install, delivery from both, broken down, And I think, I'd like to hear you guys, your thoughts, that we should have it installed professionally, because who knows if DPW will do it quickly, do it properly. I don't know. What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, so Peter, I guess it comes down to budget. The DPW will do it and we don't, and we're tight on budget. We'd say it's $400 or $500. That, you know, I assume that our DPW knows how to install signs. I guess I would say I like the idea of another board on the back instead of just painted letters. That looks seems like that would be a little chintzy.
I agree with you, Paul.
So if that's an extra, I think, what'd you say, Jason, an extra $800 or
Yeah.
so? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it was an extra 150.
No. That was for the painting. It was an extra $800 for the board, I think.
It was 635 versus 785, no?
Yeah, $785 to put a board on the back and have them put whatever verbiage we want on it.
Right.
$285 for installation through them.
So
So, I mean, you're at,
why don't I determine whether we can afford it? Once we have a clear quote, I'll just see what I can negotiate with the sponsor.
The first guy, Jason, who was the first one? ICL was the second one. The first one was,
the first one's Connor Signs. They're the original company I went to because they'd worked with the town before. They had the town seal on file, all the color.
that's
They're
fine.
the-
And what was their original? I just forget. I was just writing for the notes. The original, the cost, their bid is what, 16?
18 Connor Signs is $1885 for the sign.
Okay,
The original proposal wasn't to have it two-sided, it was one-sided.
understood. Right. So they want 285 to install and then another 785 if we want a board. So you're at like 2,700. I can't do the math that fast, but 2,800, maybe even more, maybe 2,900, close to $3,000 to get the whole deal.
29 with solar lights installed is probably what we're looking at.
Is it 80 per light or 80 for a pair?
It's 80 for a pair. Because I looked for dual because back
Double-sided, need two
front and
pairs.
back.
All right, I really want to wrap this up during this meeting. So I propose that I do what I can to negotiate the cost once we decide, once we get a final offer from the two outfits. Because we have a fairly complete offer from Connor. Right, Jason?
Yeah,
And we have an incomplete from ICL.
Yeah, we have a complete offer for Connor. I'm just thinking maybe I can talk him down on the price to the back of the sign.
Right.
That'd be great. But it's chintzy is 635 and full board is 785. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take a vote if this plan works. Let me just scroll down. See if there's anything further. So there's what you didn't see, Paul. That's a picture we took today and my IT guy superimposed a sign onto it. And the second image is what the IT guy did for me. And then here's some links.
The second image is a little out of scale.
Yeah, it is.
That's a billboard there instead of a sign.
Yeah.
Good point.
The first one looks fine.
Would you suggest that I omit the second image?
Yes, because it's totally misleading. It looks like you built a 50-foot tall stump.
Okay. All right.
I think the
Alright,
first image is totally fine. It's nice. I think it's to scale, right? I mean,
Roughly.
that looks about right.
So and now that we see the sign, and let me see if I can zoom in a bit. One second. Welcome to Berlin on one side. I mean, do we like the way that looks? I do. What do you think?
That's good.
Yeah.
Jason?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yep.
And we'll make the colors consistent with the town signs that are already out there, like the one at the town hall. So the backside would say, well, what, did we make a final decision on the backside?
No, we have to decide, I think whether it's thanks for visiting Berlin, leaving Berlin, or come back soon, leaving Berlin, come back soon. I don't know, doesn't really matter.
Does anybody have an opinion? Besides
I don't
me?
think- I think I probably don't like the leaving part. I mean, come back soon is okay. Thanks for visiting Berlin is okay.
Jason, do you have a preference? You okay with
No.
thanks for visiting?
Thanks for visiting works for me.
Jeff?
I'm a little partial to the come back soon after it, but I was not.
That's fine. You could
It's
let, you
just a
could,
homey
Well, I don't think is there room? How could we squeeze in?
Well, without the big seal on the back, it should.
yeah, that's right.
Do we not want the seal to be there to drive the mark home?
Are you putting a sponsor on both sides? I would
Yes.
assume.
Yes. I think we have Welcome to Berlin available to us, whatever size we want. That's what I would suggest. And leave the seal and leave the sponsor by and leave the sponsor's name.
Well,
So
couldn't
thank-
you
is
say,
it- Thanks
you.
for,
go ahead, Jason.
I would just, thanks for visiting Berlin on the backside and have the sign be identical to the front.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I think the words are short enough.
Good. Is that okay, Jeff?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
if they can fit, come back soon underneath, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, I get it, right?
Well, they're gonna come up with a draft. The sign people are gonna come up with a draft.
That's fine.
We'll circulate the draft. Jason will do his magic. If you can squeeze both in, we'll squeeze it both in, and if not, not. How's that?
Yep.
Let me just have a second here. So that's it. Thanks for visiting Berlin. Come back soon. Is the optimal choice? Yes.
Yep. That would be
Jason,
it.
you good with that?
Yep.
Yeah, or-
Yep.
I'll work out the money. Jason will get the quotes best he can. And then, so I'm making a motion to adopt this plan that we've been discussing for a year. I think we've discussed it and beat it to death. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion? I'll take a vote. Jeff,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Peter is yes. All right, so just to recap, I'm gonna pretty this up. I'll circulate it. I'll change the language. It says change, thanks for visiting Berlin, to include come back soon. I'm gonna omit the second image, pretty this up a bit. Jason's gonna work on the money, circulate the cost, and then I'll, as soon as we have the cost in hand, Jason and I will decide, if it's okay with you two, which vendor to choose.
That's fine.
And then I'll reach out to the Cabela's and hope that they're still on board. All right, so that's the plan. Guest introductions are done. Highland Commons has been chatted about for a moment. Sign update and solar. We're all on board for the solar lights, right?
That's fine.
Anything further, Jeff, from Lancaster EDC?
They've been having some issues with their various committees and selectmen, so I haven't really reached out recently.
Okay. Would
I-
you be able to in the next
Yeah,
month?
I can. I just they had a pretty extensive blow up at the last town meeting. So
When you say they, the EDC or?
no, the select board, but it was about a development that the EDC was working on. So
So there's some friction.
Yeah.
Got it. What were you gonna say? Jason?
I'm gonna ask the sign designers about the lights. I just want to make sure it doesn't interfere with the reflective paint that they use.
Good idea. There must be, I think it's critical that it get lighted if you have to switch.
Well, that's why I just want to confirm with them if they have to use a regular, glossy paint over a reflective paint. So
That's a great
I'll-
idea. It's a
I'll
great
ask the
idea.
question.
All right. I have failed to deal with the minutes, so I can't address the minutes. I think that leaves new business. Anything new you guys want to bring up?
Nothing really new, Peter, other than I guess I'm not hearing, I guess I'm getting concerned about the valuability of Riverbridge. I think people have been concerned about that for a while. Do I understand? I mean, they just got a renegotiation of their terms with the town at the special town meeting to extend that.
Well, I was very surprised to see all those articles on the warrant and then have them pass as well. I was, given the sentiment of the town, I was shocked that they were on, let alone passed. That's my reaction. I don't know about the viability of Riverbridge, but I think
Right.
they were probably passed. Oh, let me, hold on just a second. We have a customer in the wings here. Hold on. Just a second. There we go. Tim, you're on. Did you just join or did I just see your hand?
Oh, no, I've been here for hours.
Yeah, liar.
No, I've been here for a while.
Did-
I think the important thing to remember about town meeting is that all of those articles about Riverbridge simply benefited the town's position. They extended dates for us to make decisions. And from a practical point of view, they extended the dates by which Riverbridge needed to deal with some of the mitigation issues like the bridge and stuff like that. I mean, there was no way that they were going to deal with it in the timetable that was established during the last modification to the development agreement. So, it wasn't anything that was not in the town's best interest to pass. So I think that's why they went through so quickly and
Right.
easily.
Tim, were you listening to Liz Kelly, the new manager for the mall? Were you on then?
No, I wouldn't. I missed that, unfortunately.
So, I mean, it's pretty clear that Simon had been ignoring that mall. I mean, based on what Liz described to us.
Yeah.
And Pacific Retail Partners and Liz herself are gonna take a much more active role in trying to lease space. And
Yeah,
they
that's
don't
what Peter
want-
was saying. That she seemed very enthusiastic, and we both sort of scratched our head, but she's continuing to say that's the case, right? So
She's continuing to say that's the case. I guess that has potential to affect Riverbridge again, because, as you think about restaurants or whoever that the mall, that Solomon may try to pull in, that's somebody else who's not going to Riverbridge.
yeah, but when you talk to Chris right now, the hotel is back, the daycare is doing fine, the apartments are fine. I mean, I was surprised they sold, and I was talking to the building inspector about that this evening, but I mean, they did. And so, that's the reality. And the gas station's doing fine, and they have enough flow in their utilities now in terms of the septic and the well to generate the kind of revenue they need to begin to deal with their debt.
Okay.
So they're not out of the woods, but they're in a sounder position than they've been. And granted, they'd love to see the infill of those last 3 lots. And who knows, when that'll happen. I think the planning board's position is still that it ought not to be houses, that it ought to be some commercial value that really truly makes it the mixed use that we voted on in the first place. And if that takes a little while longer, so be it, but it may very well be that, there's opportunity and in the future, once we get through this damn COVID thing, so.
Right. Okay.
And
better
a
than-
lot of the time, I don't think we need to look at Solomon Pond as in opposition to the success of Riverbridge. I think that the success of Solomon Pond may very well drive the success of Riverbridge and the occupancy of those two buildings there on the corner of Donald Lynch and River Road that New England Development built, where Old Navy and
Right.
Sports Authority were, so.
No, I agree with you. I mean, if everybody up there is occupied, then that makes the Riverbridge space that much more attractive because there's a heck of a lot more traffic going in.
Yep.
I mean, one of the things that Liz told us today that we didn't know is that still traffic in the mall is only about 70% of where it was in 2019. Much better than last year, but
Yeah.
not back to sort of quote unquote baseline. And you might think baseline should actually be higher than 100%. It should be something 110% of what it was 2019 with population growth and such. So
I'm actually impressed she was able to hire as many people as she did in the short time that she had.
Yeah, Tim, she said that they gave her an empty office of people and files and they had to figure it all out on their own,
Wow.
which
So
is a little.
She sounds like a boost.
Yeah, she was smiling. She wasn't grumpy. She wasn't despondent. What else? I'm looking at the notes. She talked about a hybrid model, whether it be 70% retail or less. She lives in Westminster. She started in late 2000, September 21. It is in receivership, which means, so practically speaking, Pacific Retail Capital Partners, her employer, doesn't take on these projects unless they're interested in buying. And that will take between 6 months and 2 years. So that's the whole period. So I asked her.
Whenever you talk to her, assure her that the planning board's really interested in working with her, just like you guys are, in regard to modifications to zoning that might need to take place in order to have that hybrid mix.
I'll mention it to her offline.
Because, we might have to unravel parts of the development agreement and parts of the zoning in order to accommodate the types of uses she might want to bring in. But I think the town would be really receptive. I can't imagine too many uses over there that we'd sort of balk at, so.
Yeah, she said that right now they're focusing on negotiating with those tenants they've got to keep them in place. They're working with a movie theater, which was surprising to me because I would think the movie theater is one purpose, and if they move out, what else will it be? Mexican restaurant cafes. Mexican restaurants delayed due to construction. The cafe has now moved in. They're rethinking their use, but they're still paying rent. Focus on keeping tenants. That's pretty much the highlights. Anything else, Paul, that I forgot?
no, I don't think so. I think the only thing about movie theater, Peter, is I've seen other places, you drive 495, there are movie theaters that have closed. Yeah, and so I think they're worried about them closing.
Yeah, of course. Well, guys, anything else? Tim, maybe watch the video. You might enjoy.
No, that'd be
hearing what
good.
she had to say.
Right. You're doing a good job. It's fun to see these projects that you're working on. The sign, I like the sign idea.
Oh, you saw that?
I like the fact that there's a line of communication with Solomon Pond, regardless of who's running it over there, because there's got to be that dialogue with whoever the tenant is and the landlord, so. That's
Any
good.
input on the sign, since you were watching? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Paul. The billboard next to the community garden is a little extreme, so. Don't show that one.
All right. All right. Anything else, Tim or guys?
No, when are we having our next meeting?
How long do you guys want to wait? Want to wait a couple of months? Couple, 3 months?
That sounds
Late
fine.
January, late or February?
I think February.
So,
If you met in February, you might be able to react to some of the warrant articles that might go on the town meeting warrant that would be closing mid-February, but you'd be privy to what was going to be on, and if you had input to any of the groups that were proponents of those, you might be able to give them some feedback before they finalize them.
and when do you think it's going to close?
Well, usually the warrant closes somewhere between the 15th and the 20th. So, if you met in early February, you'd probably be able to get samples of what drafts were for different committees. There's going to be some zoning things I'm pretty sure of, and there may be some more Riverbridge stuff that gets thrown onto the warrant too, that people will be looking for your input from.
Are you still putting in budget requests for us?
Who knows? Who knows? I don't even know if we're putting budget requests for ourselves. So
Well, given the costs of the
we'll
sign
find
have
out. We'll
gone up
find
a
out.
bit, don't forget it. I think
Okay.
we were contemplating 1,000 or 1,500 or something. So if you would please not forget, that'd be good. So I'll be gone the week of the 6th-ish of 7th of February. So I propose that we do this the 31st of January week. Is that okay with you guys? And if so, what days are better?
That's fine. Second or third that week is good for me.
Second and third, good for you, Jeff and Jason?
As far as I know at the moment, yes.
Jason?
Should be fine.
Paul, what's better for you? Well, let's do Wednesday and I guess we can do Wednesday, Thursday. I know.
Either one is fine. Yeah, either one is good right now.
I'm going to
All right.
another meeting. Goodbye, guys. Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
thanks
Thank you, Tim. Bye.
thanks for joining.
Have a good one.
I think he's gone. All right, let's do the 3rd,
So February
six-
3rd,
6 PM.
that sounds fine.
Works for me.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn unless there's anything further. Is there a second?
Nope.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. Okay. We're
Aye.
good. Thank you very much. Jason will be in touch.